Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about aging with attitude. Join us as we explore how to be comfortable in your own skin, seeing ourselves as we really are, and developing a plan for aging. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're starting a new book series. We are starting the book, French Women Don't Get Facelifts. And Julie brought this book to us. We're going to be talking about aging with attitude, which I think just about everyone in midlife can relate to. We all want to age with attitude, only want it to be with a good attitude, not a bad attitude.
There's
lots
right.
of attitudes out there.
Yes.
There is.
We're going to do one chapter a month or thereabouts. And even if you're not reading the book, these episodes will still be something you enjoy. You don't have to be reading the book to listen along. But Julie, why don't you go ahead and introduce this book to us?
Yeah, this book I saw advertised and I thought, oh, wait a minute, I have read one of her other books. She had a New York Times best-selling book called French Women Don't Get Fat. I probably read that 15 years ago.
Okay.
And it was just really amazing because talking about the differences in the cultures, just how different we are. And apparently French women don't diet. They just live a healthy lifestyle. They walk everywhere. Now that's just the nature of maybe living in Paris. But she said you can adopt that anywhere. You can just take the stairs in your building, or she gave you ways to kind of adopt more of their lifestyle. So I thought this book sounded good because I knew she writes in a really witty, funny way. So I enjoyed it. So the back of the book says, with her signature blend of wit, no nonsense advice, and storytelling flair, Mireia Guiano returns with a delightful and encouraging take on looking and feeling your best at any age. She offers priceless advice and inspiration on fashion, skincare, makeup, health, exercise, food, humor, sex, and even facelifts. But this is not advice you'll find just anywhere. These are a French woman's most guarded beauty and lifestyle secrets. So that's what we're going to dive into.
Yes, and kudos to you for pronouncing her name. And I don't know if I'll be able to pronounce it. Did you say it's Mireia Guiano?
I'm assuming the Guiano is the last name. Okay, didn't we all take French in high school, all three of us?
I can't pronounce that.
I know. I could pronounce the first name because that was my French name in high school. So I was very excited to see her first name.
Okay, that will come naturally to you then.
So I can pronounce the first. It's Mireia.
Mireia. Okay.
But I do not know the last name. We can make something fabulous up, though, I'm sure.
Yes.
It's all about the attitude, right?
Yeah. I might just call her MG for short.
Yeah, let's do it. MG. Love it.
Okay. Yes. And I love that she also said that for any woman who has ever spent the equivalent of a mortgage payment on anti-aging lotions, accidentally dressed inappropriately for her age, gained a little too much in the middle, or forgotten how to flirt, this is the book for you. When you get to midlife, you suddenly start spending money on skincare in amounts that you may not have even ever thought about before that. Or all of a sudden you are relooking at your wardrobe and there's going to be some mishaps, some things that you probably shouldn't have bought. Like there's just a lot of different changes. So I think this book is wonderful because I know that I could use some French advice.
Yes.
Well, something else you need to know is she's French born, but she lives in America. So she really can compare and contrast the two cultures, what she sees. Yeah.
All right.
I'm already loving her lighthearted, funny, but also just really good advice so far. So, and I can't wait to read the rest of this book, but I am showing self-control. I've only done the intro and first chapter for today.
Okay, Julie, why don't you give us a little introduction to the introduction of the book?
Okay, yeah, it starts off, it's funny. She says, last summer, my boyfriend in Provence, he's a handsome, dynamic whirlwind of a 3.5-year-old. So he apparently makes a comment about her being old. He said, "You're old." And she said, "Yes, I am. What else could I say?" And I thought that was funny because I just had the same experience when I was visiting my grandson in Texas. He was looking at my hand and he goes, "Kenny, what are those?" And I said,
no.
"What are what?"
This is
and
not
just,
good.
You know how like the veins on your hand kind of pop up? I mean, mine have kind of always done that, but he wanted to know what those were. So It was a very
my
humbling
gosh.
experience.
Oh my gosh.
I can remember asking my own grandmother that with the utmost love. You know, like her
Yes.
hands were so loving, and I loved to rub them and all that, try her rings on and everything. But yeah, my granddaughter's been asking me every time I see her for the last 4 or 5 times, "How old are you? How old are you?"
Oh, really?
She wants to know how old everybody is.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's just kind of funny. So yes, that age group, apparently the 3 to 5-year-olds are really wanting to know about age.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it got her thinking about how old she is. And she said, I realize in my head, I don't feel that old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we're starting off today.
Yes, yes. And so she makes the claim that old today is 90, not 60 or even 70. And how is this claim evident to you? Do you guys agree with it? Do you see it in your own life?
I do. I mean, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting closer to those ages that I think, well, of course that's not old. But I look around. I mean, I live in a neighborhood that's very active, a lot of active people. And I think, okay, yeah, there are 80-year-old men on the pickleball court. And, there are people on bikes that you would have seen just sitting in a rocking chair on the front porch. It just seems like people don't want that anymore. They're not going to just sit around and wait to die. They're going to. They're going to be out there living life.
Yeah, this is kind of where I'm at. It's taken me teaching classes. I have 3 70-year-old women, 70 or above, that are always at my class. And these women have changed my life in my thought process and what I think about a 70-year-old woman should look like. They are the most encouraging women in my class. They always are willing to try something new. Every time I mix it up, they're the ones that are like, great workout. I mean, this attitude that they bring to class, they are excited. They're encouraging. They are living their lives. And that's who I want to be.
Yeah, Mindy, when we work out, I work out with a friend, with a trainer, and then the 2 ladies that come after us are 70s. And so I'm not the oldest client anymore, but they are so encouraging. Like I can say, okay, that's me in whatever, 15 years, that's so encouraging to see that they're still doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I was shocked by how active the older people are, even just moving here to where Julie and I live. I remember asking their age of a couple of them, and they are 80 years old and out on the pickleball court. Like, it's amazing. And I just think that it's almost, and we've talked about this before, like with skiing or things, like it's almost if you stop doing things, that's when you lose it. But if you just keep doing it, even as you age, your body somehow keeps adapting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't recommend starting pickleball at 80. It's something to keep doing, but not start.
Right. Yeah. So, and even just like a lot of people think that my dad is a lot younger than he is, or they're always like, your dad is doing so much. But I think he's a good example of somebody who has never stopped doing what he's always done either, because he's always been very active and always done like all his own home projects, and like getting up and down ladders and changing light fixtures and painting the whole outside of his house and like yard work. He just always does all of that himself, and he still continues to do all that stuff. Now we have to say like, Dad, it's time to hire a painter for the outside of your house. There's just no reason for you to be getting up so high. Like, please hire a painter, but I think if he stopped doing those things, he would start to age, but because he just keeps on, it keeps him young.
Right.
Yeah. I noticed this too, though, not just in behaviors. I thought about dress. When I picture, now my grandmother's probably a lot older than your grandmothers were, but when I picture my grandmother, I mean, she was always in a dress, or, I mean, she did wear pants, but I just think of the way you can't tell if someone's a grandparent anymore, by the way they look. Like people don't stick to rules like, oh, I'm over this, so I can't wear this. I mean, some people maybe
Yes.
should, but in general, most people don't stick to those kind of rules. And so I think people look younger by the way they dress.
Oh, it's so true. I thought about hairstyles in the same vein. You know, like I love your gray hair, Julie, and it's in a sassy, very becoming cut style. Like it is styled, like it looks really good. And so I just think about hairstyles, like when we used to see gray hair, like for me, gray hair meant they were coming to my Mima's house once a week because it was really short and they would have it all set,
curled,
and they would get it curled and set under the hairdryer, and it would last a week, and it would be teased, and they all had like the same, you know, little style going on. And so I love that hair is able to still be, I'll even say longer. Not that short hairstyles are not adorable, but I feel like there's this, like you're allowed to have a sassy haircut. You're allowed to have longer hair. You're allowed to do these styles that are maybe used to be considered younger, and they look so good. So I even love the different colors hair in a cute style.
Yeah, you don't see the gray set hair as much anymore as you used to, unless maybe in the 90s you do.
90-year-olds.
But we said that's old, so
right. Well, another thing that MG says is that America is a youth-obsessed culture and a results-obsessed culture. And then, you know, do you agree with that? I don't know how you can't agree with it. I'd love to hear the case for that you don't agree with that.
Right.
Yeah, I think about like the digital age it's just really getting harder and harder to tell what's real.
Oh.
You know, like I think if you saw a celebrity on the street, you wouldn't even know who they were probably. And then we think we have to live up to that level of perfection, and it's not even real. Like it's really hard because what they're putting in front of us is not even real. You know, I just think it's just pushed by, I don't know. It's hard to know which came first. Like, did the media push it and then we fell for it, or do we want that? And so that's what they give us. I don't know.
Well, it's true. I wonder the same thing, Julie, because I had two thoughts about this idea. If you want to know where our culture is at, turn on the Hallmark channel and count how many times healthy living-ish, you know, diet, I'm going to go with diet culture, aging is on the commercials. Like just count the commercials that talk about aging or talk about diet. Literally every other one. And if it's not for you, this is funny, y'all. It's for your pet. Oh, like if you're not trying to be healthy, then you want your pet to be healthy, right? Yep. This is all that was on the commercials yesterday. And so it was kind of a little experiment that I conducted. I'm like, yeah, count the commercials, be aware.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. And what do you think they meant by the results obsessed culture?
Well, I think Americans, it's just ingrained that we are, I don't know, just to be productive and successful. And so when your life has to slow down when you're old, and maybe if your values linked to your accomplishments,
right?
I mean, aging can kind of feel like failure, you know? Right. So I think that's why people want to, why we're so bent on putting it off as long as possible, because it just, I don't know. I think a long time ago, aging was, older people were revered and honored and looked at as wise and experienced. And I just don't think we see it that way anymore. It seems like just an end, a failure of, you know.
Right.
Like irrelevant.
Yeah. Like we haven't moved into this great new phase. It's just like everything good ended and now here we are, you know.
I feel like anytime you associate a number with anything, you know, you're going to be disappointed or you're setting yourself up for failure. So you put an age to something and it's just like you're supposed to automatically apologize for it or fight against it. You're like, why? You know, why should I fight against it? This is a natural, healthy thing. It's a gift to be able to age. Or I think about people that are obsessed with a particular weight that they feel like they are supposed to weigh. This is very individual. But so many women talk about, oh, I used to be this size, you know, and they won't tell you what size, but they're obsessed with a number, what size they wear, how much they weigh, things like that. And so being able to kind of separate yourself, not judging yourself by a number, either how old you are or what you weigh. I mean, half of the things that go through your head might be gone if you can free yourself of judging yourself by whatever number it is you have in your mind.
Yeah. And this is just a little side note, but when you were talking about that, I mean, this is an example of how youth obsessed and results obsessed America is, especially, I don't know if this is true in men's clothing, but in women's clothing, the number on the size of my pants is actually lower than it was when I was in high school. Right. I am not smaller than when I was in high school, but they have adjusted when I was in high school, you couldn't buy a 00 size pants. I don't even know that you could buy a 0. I think they started at 2.
I think there's even smaller than 00 now.
Yeah. Right. But they've moved all the numbers back.
Yeah.
Because they know that there aren't any women that want to go into the store and buy a bigger number than they've bought in the past. So they've just moved all the numbers back. And so it's so weird. But that's an example of how obsessed we are.
Yeah. Isn't it called like vanity sizing?
Okay. Is that what it's called?
I think that's the term.
I haven't heard that, but that's accurate description.
Now,
it's just weird to think you could be happy with being the same size or larger just because the number's different. Like that's really a deep psychological
right. Now, Julie, I'm curious. So I feel like you're the most well-traveled of the three of us. And so isn't the sizing different in Europe?
Well, it's just like, they use the numbers like 26, 27, 28, 29. Yeah, which a lot of American stores do.
I'm curious if they have vanity sizing over there.
You know what? Actually, it might be different here because a 26, they relate to that is a 4 or that is a, so maybe they've changed the.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I don't know that men's clothing has necessarily done the same thing.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, sizes should just be actual measurements. That would make so much sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
they should all be drawstring waist. No.
Elastic.
Yeah. Okay, well, with her foot in 2 countries, her native France and adopted America, the author sees the advantages of each culture, and she shares in this book what seems to work well and not so well with other women. And so one of the things that she talks about is that not every country or every culture is necessarily obsessed or even commonly doing facelifts and cosmetic surgeries. And I don't know that I really ever thought about what the numbers are in the United States, but she was saying that we're a culture that is obsessed with facelifts and cosmetic surgery. We're one of, several cultures that are. But what do you guys think about that? I mean, have you ever felt the pressure to do anything cosmetic?
Not surgery. I mean, I'm kind of interested in skin treatments and stuff. Maybe, but not injections or fillers or anything like that. I've always thought, at some point, I mean, it's probably already happened. My face needs to match my age in that it will someday, even, if I just keep putting that at bay. I mean, when I'm 90, would I still be filling in my wrinkles? I don't think so. I don't know. I just think at some point it would have to stop. So why didn't it, might as well just go with it now. I don't know. That never made sense to me, but
the reading this book is giving me a new lease on how I have already felt. And so I appreciate it because I'm too practical to spend the money on expensive lotions or products, and let alone surgery. I just can't even imagine. I mean, I don't like to go to the dentist. I don't want to go have a needle poked in my face. I just don't. And I think it's because I'm so practical. But no, reading this, I'm like, oh, so maybe it'll be okay, because I think I'm like, well, I'm too far gone. I'm 45. I didn't start, when I was 20. So the wrinkles are already started.
Well, that's the thing. Abigail has been sharing different stories that she sees with me on Instagram or people. And these young girls are doing lip filler and cheek filler and all these fillers. And then if you don't keep them up, then it'll show you what happens when the filler isn't there anymore. And I don't know. I'm thinking that's like the decade where you definitely don't need anything done. But I think because of what you said earlier, Julie, about the different filters and like the different AI things, like I think when they look on social media, they see not real people. And now they're trying to match their real face to these not real images.
Yeah. And not thinking, I mean, being in the medical profession and with John being a doctor, I heard a lot of bad stories about what happened. And just the idea, like I can remember just John years ago before plastic surgery seemed so big, like just talking about any elective procedure, you should really think about this long and hard. Like being put to sleep is a serious thing. And sure, most people come through fine, but you just need to understand what you're doing. Like you're putting yourself at risk or, what are you willing to put yourself at risk for? So I just always think of that too. Like, I don't think it's worth it. And I don't want to create problems. And I've looked at those videos of surgery gone bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have no recourse after that,
I think that our age group has kind of lived, and I don't know, maybe my mother would say the same thing, but I don't know if that many people her age were getting plastic surgery. But like, I feel like our age group maybe saw the generation ahead of us get plastic surgery, like celebrities and stuff. And then they were always either ridiculed or criticized or, how dare they get plastic surgery, or, oh, that looks awful, or now you can't even. I always heard such negative things, even from the media, even while they put this tremendous pressure on celebrities to continue to look young. Then if they would do anything surgical, they would turn around and skewer them.
Shame them,
yeah.
That's true.
It's always had such a negative connotation in my mind. Now, I don't know that that's how the media views it anymore. So maybe the generation coming up behind us isn't going to have those same messages in their mind when they think about plastic surgery.
Because you do still see on social media, some of my favorite things are like when they do a celebrity face to face and they're like, name what procedures they've had done. And I'm like, oh, let me see if I can figure, I don't know. Or one of my favorites is with the celebrities is, okay, this is what they would look like if they couldn't afford all the fillers and the plastic surgery. Those are my favorite.
Okay.
Like they literally make them look like real people.
Yeah.
Well, this is a little off track, but I just saw this last night. The aging filters that TikTok does, and
yes,
and it's live. Like you can just see a video of yourself talking 50 years from now, and they were remarkable because they really did still look like the person, but with all the like very subtle changes, even to their teeth. They weren't quite as white, and the lines around their mouth and everything. And almost all of those young women said, well, I'll be doing Botox till I die. Like they did not want to look like that.
Oh.
And I think
who
that's
does
so sad.
Want to, though?
I know, but I mean, it happened overnight. There's no life lived. There's no life that brought that gray hair and those wrinkles. And
true.
Like I just think it's unfortunate that they had to see themselves that way because,
right.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Right. Well, were you surprised to learn that France is not the land of facelifts?
In a way, I was, because when I think of beauty products, you think of Paris because you think L'Oreal, Tresemme, Estee Lauder, like all those brands are French. But I guess those are more like beauty products. But I assumed that would kind of go along, that they do anything to be beautiful, but apparently not.
Well, let's talk a little bit about being comfortable in one's skin. And I think we're going to kind of get to the part where she starts talking about having a plan for aging and what your mental attitude is about aging. Julie, why don't you describe this a little bit for us?
Kind of going off the plastic surgery stuff. She said, remember, it's not going to make us younger or prolong our lives in any way. And so she said, it's as you take a look at the second half of your life, it's good to have a plan. And we're going to talk about that. And she said the strategy should be based on knowing yourself, common sense, and a zest for life. And she said, for me, it's about being comfortable in one's skin through all episodes and stages in life. And, all our plans will be different. She says, we don't all have the same genetics. We don't all live in the same place. We don't all have the same resources, but we can all have the same basic attitude of being comfortable in our own skin. for me, that means facing the facts and accepting the reality
Right.
that with aging comes changes that, we don't love, but you're not alone. Everyone is getting older.
It says that in France, a woman in her 40s and 50s is still alluring and seen as an object of desire and acts the part. She feels it and acts it, but doesn't pretend she is ageless. She is comfortable in herself. She takes care of herself and for the most part watches her weight and external presence, but she doesn't attempt to look like her 20-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the pressure is today, because in America and in many other cultures that are youth obsessed, basically, no matter what age you are, you're supposed to try and compete with 20-year-olds. And that's not even possible.
Right. And doesn't that just stick out? I don't know. It kind of makes me sad when I see somebody my age trying to look like a 20-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But this strikes a chord with me because I think this starts when you're 20, because my body was never the epitome of being a model status. I never added up in my mind to what I should look like. And then I had 4 kids through my 20s. That will really change your mind about your body. And so learning to accept your body at the point that it is at starts when you're very young. Mm-hmm. And girls are taught, and we're talking about young girls now that are already doing fillers. I hosted D Now. I had 7th grade girls last year. They all had expensive eye creams. Why do they have expensive eye creams? I don't even use an expensive eye cream. I don't use any eye cream, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
But learning to accept yourself at any stage starts very young, having a healthy outlook about your own body and your mind. And so this idea of wearing a swimming suit at the beach, to continue to put it on when you're at the beach, to continue to tell yourself you can instead of you can't. And so I know she's going to lead into attitude and kind of, it's what you tell yourself. It is really what you tell yourself. But going back to what you said, Marie, at the very beginning, I think anytime you stop doing something, you age yourself mentally. When you say, I'm not going to do that anymore, or I can't do that anymore, then you have just limited yourself to a lot of life. And you have just kept yourself from living a very full life and having options and opportunities.
Mm-hmm. That's so funny, Mindy. I mean, amen to what you said. I agree with that, because I didn't have a very healthy body image either when I was young. But it's funny that we put putting on a bathing suit up there with skiing and playing pickleball. Like, have you known moms? Like, I think I remember my mom for years probably didn't wear a bathing suit. And then when you get an opportunity to do that, it's a shock to go buy a new one. And, so I think that would be an easier thing to just keep doing every year.
There is a day of reckoning when that bathing suit comes back out.
Yeah. But if you've waited 15 years, it's really hard.
Oh man. Yes.
Yeah. I can remember my mother got to an age where she just said she was never going to wear shorts again. And she literally, I don't think, ever has. And I don't remember exactly what age that was, but we live in Tennessee. I mean, it can be 100. It's hot. I don't know that I want to get to the age. I mean, I guess I'll get to an age where I say that, but I think in past generations, there was an attitude of like, okay, well, you're this age, so now you can never have long hair again, or this age, so now you never wear a bathing suit. This age, well, now you never wear shorts. This age, now you never wear heels. Like there used to be like cutoff dates for women.
There were rules.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. I know one of the reasons that I feel like I should put a bathing suit on or continue to wear shorts, even though I have terrible veins in my legs. My legs look older than really what I am, but I'm going to continue to wear shorts because I'm actually a very healthy woman, and I have 3 sons that will see me wearing shorts, and I want them to have a realistic view of what a woman looks like. They know I work out almost daily. They know I eat well, and they see me. And I feel like I'm helping their image of what a woman should look like. And so I actually feel a responsibility even to my daughter to be comfortable in my skin. I want her to be comfortable in her skin. And so I do want to continue to do the things and live the life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a little confusing because she's saying being comfortable in your own skin, but at some point she said, when she talks about looking in the mirror, it may be time to put away the bikini. So there's a balance here. She's not saying no rules, just go out there and, that there's a balance here of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like appropriateness, but also still, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's based on more how you feel about yourself or if you're being considerate of others.
That's a good point, Julie. Amen, sister.
Did it surprise you that she suggested that 40 should be your latest start date to think about why you want to age? And Mindy, I think that's why you said it's already too late. Like, we're all over 40, so are we? But did you? I don't know. I remember when I turned 40, I felt old. Like, I was very afraid of turning 40. I can definitely see why 40-year-olds would want to think about that. Now, 10 years away from being 40, I think, oh my goodness, that's so young. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But what do you think the 40-year-old should start thinking?
Well, I didn't think about it at 40. To me, it was 50.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first that felt old, the jokes were there about 40 because I had a surprise birthday party and I got old people stuff, but I didn't feel like like now I'd really use those things, you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
But at 40 I wasn't. So I don't know. I was a little surprised. Because I think, gosh, my daughter's 32, 31. Which is she? 32. Is that right? Yeah. Like she's 8 years away from thinking about this. That seems a little, because she just looks so young to me.
Right.
But I guess it's more about the attitude.
I don't know. This kind of slapped me in the face at 40. I had just been through my major health journey at 36. So I'm saying that because my 20s were not that healthy. I really found myself again at 36 when I got healthy. And so from that point, I felt great. Well, 40 really kicked me in the gut because I had a bad mammogram. And there is nothing like your health to bring you to reality or way worse. And I just did not contemplate my own life like I did at that moment. And so it really made me look at myself, take a hard look at everything. And it just, when I got through that, it gave me a lot of gratitude for my body, for my life, for the days that the Lord, continued to give. But there's nothing like a sickness or a medical procedure that will bring you back to earth and make you contemplate aging, your health, all of the things.
Right. Very true.
For sure. All right. Well, let's talk about in chapter 1, she talks about assessing gravity. And she says that gravity works the same way in America as it does in France. But again, women just aren't as obsessed about it in France. So everything is falling. I mean, I just remember when I didn't think about gravity when I was in my 20s or even really in my 30s. But then you start hearing women a little bit older than you and they all start talking about every part of your body is falling.
It's falling
your
down.
Eyelids, your breasts, your skin, your hair is falling out.
That's right. Your
butt,
back,
like everything
skin
is
over
falling.
your knees.
Yep.
Your insides are falling out. Like everything is falling.
I heard every decade something else falls down. This is what I've heard.
Yes. So it's not an encouraging message to be sending to people. But I think what was funny about this was that men I don't know if they don't hear this, but they don't notice about themselves. She said that her husband came to her one day and said, my mustache is white. And she remembers thinking, it's been that way for 3 years. But I don't think that men see themselves as how they really are when they look in the mirror. And I don't know, maybe women don't either, but I think that her example shows you that men pretty much think they look like they looked in college.
Yeah. Men are allowed to age also. They are. They are allowed to age and it's celebrated.
Yeah.
And women are even more harsh on themselves, way too early. Way too early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that you see yourself as you are? Like when you look in the mirror, do you think you have a realistic view of yourself?
I do not.
No.
And the reason I think I know this is because one time I was visiting another church with friends, and we found a couples class that was comprised of people our age. And when I walked in, I thought, "Oh my goodness, we've gone to the wrong room. This can't be our age group." Because I thought they all looked old. And I think when you've aged with people, like the couple we were with still looked like I remembered them, like in our 30s, you know?
Right.
But when you meet someone for the first time and you don't know them, they look their age, you know? And I think, okay, that's how people see me too. And I don't see myself that way. So I don't think I probably do, you know?
Well, I think that we don't. We may be more realistic than the men, but I don't think we totally do, or at least I don't, because I know that I'll catch a glimpse of myself in a picture. Like, say you go for like Christmas card picture, and then you look at them, and you're like, "Is that what I look like?" Like, that's not how I see myself in my mind. Like, I don't. Who's that older woman right there? Like, that's not me. Or I'll see a picture of myself even 3 or 4 years ago, and I'll be like, "Wow, look at how young I look." I just don't think that we do see ourselves totally as we are.
I'm either very disappointed or happily surprised, but I'm never probably truly realistic because like you, Marie, I am surprised if there's a picture taken and it's like the side of my face and, you know, I have more chins than I realized. And I'm like, oh, what happened? Or I'll see a picture of myself and I think, it's not as bad as I thought.
Which tells me, if you look into maybe why that is I think because we are looking at something beyond the surface, you know?
Yeah.
We're looking, like when I look at you guys, I've known you for years. I still see who you are inside. And I think, and that's how we see ourselves. We know how we feel inside. So they don't match up.
And you hear about this, like, people that maybe dated in college and then married other people, and maybe those spouses have passed away, or for some reason they're single again later in life, and they get back together and they still kind of see each other. Like, they'll describe, like, I knew her as soon as I saw her. Like, she totally doesn't look like she did in college, but he remembers her that way, and she does for him.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do think that is true.
I do wonder what we'll look like in heaven. I know this is not in the book, but I do wonder. I wonder, you know, because we'll recognize each other and we'll recognize people that have gone on before us. So I'm like, at what age does God allow us to be in heaven?
Yes. In a glorified body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The title of the next section is called Feeling Groovy. Julie, what does that mean?
Well, she goes into, you've heard the maxims, it's mind over matter, or stop thinking about that, or it will make you sick, or she lost her will to live. Like, that beliefs and feelings have effects on our physical well-being. And she said it's actually been proven in science that belief is powerful medicine. And I know this to be true as a pharmacist. Like, there's a thing called the placebo effect. And we know that a person can be taking, you know, basically a sugar pill and sometimes get the same effects as if they were taking the actual drug. So it is kind of a mind over matter. It's really hard to believe that someone could just think they were taking something and actually feel better. So there's obviously a lot we don't know that goes on in the mind, that who knows what kind of hormones and endorphins are released that actually heal and make people better. But I like this. She said she knows that a strong social network helps people survive cancer. And perhaps that's not a strict placebo effect, but it is clear evidence of the brain's role in physical health and obviously associated mental health. And my thoughts just immediately went to John and just how the role his attitude probably played in his survival. Like, I think that gave him life. 3 years. And I just do think he did better because of it.
John had a great attitude. He really did. I mean, I'm sure that he had his moments privately, but if ever you talk to him, he was always optimistic and upbeat. And I can't help but feel that that played a huge role.
Yeah.
Because his treatments were hard and difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then, on the other side of that, you've heard these stories. I've never known anyone that this happened to, but like when an elderly couple, one of the spouses passes away, oftentimes the other one will die within a few months. And it's just hard to believe that just the mental attitude of giving up could actually cause your body to die.
Right. I was going to say this whole concept really is put in perspective. It's helpful to have examples, like real life examples of people that are doing it well. People that have a healthy, positive mindset that are just ahead just ahead on the road than you. We've talked about this a lot, but for me, having examples of people that are still choosing to learn new things and struggle through technology and do harder workouts and, to have this attitude of possibility instead of, limiting all areas of their lives, with fashion, with hair, with makeup, with earrings, with shoes, saying like, I'm still going to wear heels, for maybe less amount of time than I used to, but I'm still going to put them on. Or, I just think this attitude and having examples really helps me continue to feel like I can do it.
Right. So in what ways do we have the power to help ourselves feel better about aging? Like, how have you seen this, like specifically to this, that the things that we're talking about, like aging with attitude, like what are some of the ways that you have the power to make yourself feel better about aging?
Well, for me, something I've been trying to work on, and not just in this area, in fact, mostly in other areas, just acceptance. And I've shared that I had this acrostic for acceptance that was written by this Vanderbilt psychologist who is a Christian. And a couple of them just really stuck out to me. And like, this was written for people going through like suffering and struggles, but aging can bring struggles and suffering too. But one of the letter C, it was to cut ties with a highly idealized view of the past. So that could be when I was 30, what I look like, it doesn't have to just be before some traumatic event. So to cut ties with a highly idealized view of the past that makes your current situation seem dire and unacceptable by comparison. I thought that fits perfectly with aging. Like, sure, I looked better then, but this is where I am. Like just facing reality. And this is something, the E letter was embrace things as they are, not as you wish they were. And that was John's mantra, Wow, yeah. And then another C was create a vision for a rich life that can coexist with difficulties. Like life can be full in the middle of that. And I think all that applies to aging really well.
Yes. This strikes a chord with me to be able to say, what can I do? Not what can't I do? Also, when I do see a picture of myself and I feel like I'm looking old, or I've noticed, that gravity has taken an effect in a way that I hadn't realized, one thing that really helps me feel better about that is just making healthy choices. What can I do? I can work out. What can I do? I can eat good foods that actually help me feel good. And when I eat bad foods, I tend to be more grumpy. I tend to have highs and lows, with insulin instead of having a stabilized, I'll call it metabolic. Yeah. Like, so I think there are things that you can do. I don't think that you just eat whatever you want and do whatever you want and expect a miracle to happen. I mean, my mind, yes, I'm aging. It's a fact. And I want to age well. I want to take that on and do it well. And so if I see myself looking older, I'm like, well, I guess I'm getting older, but you know what? I'm going to keep living my life. I'm going to keep being healthy and keep making good choices. What do I have? What can I do?
Kind of makes me think of that scripture. It's talking about peace, but as far as it depends on me, live at peace with other people. Like, you can't always control the outcome, but as far as it depends on me. So same thing applies. Like, it's not a guarantee that you won't get sick or something happen, but you want to know you're doing all you can do.
Right.
All right. Well, she talks about surrounding yourself with like-minded women and friends with similar outlooks in life. And I think that obviously this is an important thing. I think that it's a good distinction to make that she says to surround yourself with similar outlooks. They don't have to necessarily be your exact age, but do they have a similar outlook on aging? A good attitude? Do they inspire you? Or are they kind of making you feel down about aging?
Yeah, I think it's fun to be with people that can kind of make fun of themselves in aging. You know, like I don't mind hearing about their wrinkles and their gray and their sagginess, but to keep it light, like not let
lighthearted.
Not let it bring them down. Just people that want to just keep trying and keep going and doing things and not saying I'm too old.
Right.
Right.
Isn't that why we're here? I mean, I hope our listeners can tell that from the three of us, almost every topic that we tackle is something that we're trying to, find encouragement and find a positive outlook and surrender it to the Lord. And this is one of them. This is a major thing. And so I do hope that we can be an encouragement to women and men that are out there.
So one of the things that she suggests just in this intro and first chapter, and that we're going to get into more later, is kind of developing a plan for aging. And I'm excited about that. I want to see how you would do that in practical matters. But what's just some of the overview that she offers here?
Well, one thing to talk about the plan a little bit is she's getting back to looking in the mirror. We ask how you saw yourself, that you do need to look at yourself in the mirror and take a good look. And one of the basic questions to ask yourself is, do I like what I see? And she said, because your plan is going to be external and it's going to be physical, like what can I do? Maybe diet, exercise, whatever. And then it's going to be mental. So kind of think of it in those three categories.
Right.
When you're looking in the mirror, think about all of those things. And then when she talks about, making those improvements, what can I do? Do I want to? And then and I think this is really good. She talks about making changes little by little.
I know she kind of compares the American, I'll say, obsession with being young and also diet culture with this all or nothing approach. Like you go out and you spend a ton of money on all the things, or you go sign yourself up for all these different fillers or surgery, or you feel like to lose weight, you have to purchase this eating plan. And it's really just learning this little by little approach is more the can-do attitude. And also it's being realistic, but also changing the lifestyle. And so to be able to change your lifestyle, it is little by little. To be able to that learning curve, healthy way. I love that she brings this up because, again, watch all the commercials, see the ads out there for all the quick fixes. You're not learning anything. You're not actually changing anything. You're paying money to some company to put some chemical in your body. Yep. It's not going to be healthy. Like you could really cause more issues. So I appreciate that she's looking at it as a healthy mindset is where you start. It starts in your mind. And then little by little, you are learning how to have a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. And I love what she said. Changes that are drastic often don't stick. Taking things little by little means you arrive at your destination gradually. And if you fall off the path, it's an easy way. It's easier to get back on. Like if you've just taken a tiny detour, you can get right back on.
Right.
But if you feel like you've totally failed, I think that's what leads to people giving up.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we do that a lot in our lives with the all or nothing. We think we've either failed or we succeeded, but actually many things that we're learning along the way, we would do better to recognize that it's a little by little change. So I appreciate this book, Julie. Thanks for bringing it to us. I look forward to reading the rest and talking about it here on Midlife Matters. Listeners, if you want to get the book, it's called French Women Don't Get Facelifts, The Secret of Aging with Style and Attitude. Mindy, why don't you say her name again?
Mireia
Guiano. We don't know exactly how to say the last name. But anyways, you can find it on Amazon. and I will link it in our show notes. If you've read this book or if you do get the book, we'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
This week, I have a particular song on repeat that I heard on the radio. It is by Josh Baldwin, and it's called Made for More. And it really goes along with this topic in my mind. I just appreciate all of the lyrics. And so I'll let you guys kind of look that up and look at that. But just that the Lord has more for us sometimes than what we have for ourselves.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll definitely
it's
look that up.
It's beautiful. It's changing my mind and my thinking.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
Okay, I'm going to stick with the theme here. I'm a fan of Zelly's gum. It's a dental gum. And a friend got me on this dental oral care program. Mm-hmm. And it's from a dentist in England. And the reason I was willing to try it, because it didn't sound too extreme. And all the products were like over the counter.
Oh, okay.
But she was a chemist, and she talks about like changing the pH of your mouth and the right products to brush your teeth with. And like I said, they're all over the counter, but she has this little regimen, and I could link that if you want. But I think the key is the xylitol gum. Have you ever heard of xylitol gum?
I have heard of xylitol. Yeah.
Well, I asked, it's a sweetener.
Okay.
And it's an alcohol. I think it's an alcohol sweetener. And so when my mom was at the dentist this week, I just asked, hey, is xylitol gum a good idea? And she said, oh, yeah, like that's very effective at changing the pH of your mouth so that plaque doesn't build up. Because when your mouth is more acidic, plaque builds up. So like with this dental oral care regimen, it's how you brush your teeth in the morning and at night. But all day long after you've eaten, you just chew the gum or the mint.
Interesting.
Yeah, like after coffee or after lunch.
Oh my goodness.
And apparently I looked it up, like in Scandinavian countries, they do this in the schools so that, because kids aren't brushing their teeth after lunch and during the day, so they use xylitol. And I just thought, I wonder why my dentist never says anything, about it. So I've been doing it for about a month, and I see the dentist in April, so I can't wait to hear what he says.
Let us know.
You know how you wake up in the morning and you have like sweater teeth?
Mm-hmm.
My son goes, I don't know what that means, Mom. That's gross. That's what my daughter and I call it. So yeah, you do not have that. Like you wake up in the morning, like your teeth feel so clean and smooth.
What?
And I think I'm doing the whole regimen, but the gum I really think is the key.
Do you have to order the gum online, Julie?
Well, you can buy xylitol gum anywhere, but she recommended the Zelly's because it didn't have like some other things in it that she didn't like. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, you can get it on Amazon. It's Zelly's.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting. I'll link to that then.
And if you don't like gum, you can get the mints.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds awesome, Julie.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds great, Julie. I'm definitely going to look that up. All right. I'm a fan of a movie I saw yesterday. I saw the movie Ordinary Angels, and it was really good. I saw it advertised on the last few movies that I've seen at the theater. It's about a struggling hairdresser finds a renewed sense of purpose when she meets a widowed father working hard to care for his two daughters. With his youngest critically ill and waiting for a liver transplant, the fierce woman single-handedly rallies an entire community to help. And these are just the kind of movies that I always eat up.
Yes.
So it was great. I recommend it. It was really rainy yesterday and just kind of blah. And my daughter and I went to a matinee, and it was a great way to spend the afternoon. So, yeah, I recommend Ordinary Angels. It was really good.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see that. I've heard about it on the radio. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, thanks for telling us.
Yeah, so go see it while it's still in theaters. All right, Mindy and Julie, I'm inspired. Guess I'll take a good long look at myself in the mirror.
Y'all look great.
See what we can accomplish over the next few months reading this book.
That's right. We're going to look French.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds great.
All right.
Bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.